And we are live. Thank you so much for this latest live stream with me, Peter Sweden, and today my special guest, Steve Fransen, joining me from America today, which is perfect because we'll be talking about the situation in America with Trump and the border wall and border security and the whole thing. It's been quite a lot of good things happening from what I have seen. Trump is to use the military to secure the borders, he just announced a couple of hours ago. Imagine if Europe had done that a couple of years ago when the refugee crisis happened. That would have been, we might have saved ourselves quite out of trouble. So what do you think, Steve? And what do you have anything to fill us in on here?
I think this is fantastic news. He just announced it. I saw the Fox News clip. Someone that's been really tracking this quite closely, and I really enjoy her content, is Lauren Rose. You can find her at twitter.com/LaurenRoseUltra. She's been really on this because we've seen, in the past, what has it been, a week, that there was a caravan that formed in Honduras and started to go through the nation of Mexico, and they were getting helped along the way. And then we had what appears to be a fake news tweet that came out from a Hispanic fellow last night saying that the Mexican government was going to disband the caravan. But now we get reports today that, in fact, the caravan has been moving forward. So this is tremendous news from the Donald Trump camp to be saying, hey, we're going to use the military to guard the border. Now, I would expect that CNN or MSNBC, one of these fake news outlets, is going to say, well, this is a travesty. This is some sort of violation of human rights. They'll come up with some sort of thing. But we got to remember, Obama and Bush both used the National Guard to secure the border at various points in their presidencies. So this isn't without precedent, and it's a very, very strong move from Trump, particularly at a time after this omnibus spending bill where I think the base was starving for something to happen above the board that could be celebrated. And this is definitely something to be celebrated.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's a very big thing. I've been seeing some of the things happening, with the budget bill a couple of weeks ago, and I was feeling a little bit depressed seeing Trump. Oh, maybe he's betraying us. But then no, the last couple of days he's just been boom, boom, boom. It's just been pushing hard for all the right things and putting in the military to secure the borders. It's really what I think every sane country should do. That is what the military is supposed to be for, to protect your nation's borders from invaders. I mean, that's literally what the military is supposed to be for. And sadly, I don't think that has gotten into the minds of of most political leaders recently. But Trump, he seems to be going strong on this one. And you mentioned the caravan, because I heard that it was supposed to have been stopped by the Mexican government, but you said it was still continuing.
Yeah, this looked like it was fake news. Now, this is going off of tweets that I saw on Lauren Rose's Twitter, and she's been tracking this closely. She's a very bright person. So I don't want to pin this on her, but I'm saying that she's got credibility with me. And so I've been sort of following the situation through her. We'll see what happens. It would be really ideal, and I think it would be a great negotiation for Trump to have called the Mexican president and have said, you need to disband this thing. But what we have right now is hearsay. We have a few tweets that are saying, oh, the Mexican government disbanded things. And then we have tweets saying, no, they're still on the move. So I am not too much of I don't have a lot of hope for the Honduran people disbanding. Like, I think that they're very dedicated. They've seen there's this huge carrot that they need to follow called the welfare state. And so I wouldn't just count on that being disbanded. But Donald Trump saying we're sending troops to the border, that sends a strong message. I think this is something that Ann Coulter, who has been really furious with Donald Trump, and not without her reasons in the past week, she could be celebrating as well. This is the kind of president we wanted. And we get him in flashes. I think he has so many advisors around him. It might be a good thing he's fired as many people as he has from the White House or seen them go, because now I think he's starting to follow his instincts a little bit. So we have a lot of reason to be optimistic with him right now.
This reminds of the Trump that we all supported back in 2016. And Yeah, I think you're probably right. He has had some of these globalist advisors that have been kind of holding him back a bit in the White House, but then you kind of see him coming through like this. And yeah, I've been watching his tweets the last few days, and it's really been on fire. He's been attacking the fake news, the media. He's been attacking migration. He's been talking about NAFTA as well, I think. So really a lot of good things happening the last few days. I actually, do you follow Nick Fuentes on Twitter?
I don't follow him on Twitter, but I do check in with him every now and then, and he has
Oh,
quality content, quality commentary. So
he's ecstatic right now.
good.
It's like, oh yeah, I'll show you guys this 4D chess thing. Yeah, it is. I was right all the time. I just saw his
Right.
Twitter, and it was quite funny.
Well, Trump's a winning brand, and Nick Fuentes is smart to sort of marry himself to that brand, sort of, tie himself in with Trump's brand, because Trump is fundamentally a winner, and I think he will figure things out. It looked dicey on the border wall, like whether it was going to be built. But if he's willing to commit to sending troops to the border, this is a firm step in the right direction that we can point to and say, okay, hold off. We're not sure yet. It looks like the border wall may be built. So we do have a lot of cause for celebration right now. It's a good day. There are a few other things, and I don't mean to switch the topic, but the EPA announced that they will be, Scott Pruitt over at the EPA is doing great work. The Liberals are absolutely mortified with him. He announced that the 50 mile per gallon cap, or the standard that the Obama administration set for vehicles in production in the United States by 2025 will be lifted. So this is another huge sort of thing for the Trump administration.
Wait, did Obama put a limit on cars so they can't take more than that they have to have a 50 miles per gallon
or above?
Okay, that's quite a low limit or high limit. Like that wouldn't be much fuel at all.
Right. Yeah, it puts a lot of strain. It was going to put a lot of strain on American manufacturers, and of course, it was going to put a lot of money into Tesla's pockets. And Tesla was they have been working on releasing a sort of sedan that can be massively purchased at a low price, but they're all like Tesla's massively subsidized. So this was just like a huge government sort of thing that now Scott Pruitt is doing away with. So, we have a couple other things too. I don't want to jump around too much, but we have Donald Trump making friends with Estonia and the other Baltic countries. He did a press conference with them today. And then, yeah, of course, we have the EPA and we have securing the border. So today is a huge, huge day for the Trump administration, a real breakthrough.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely say I'm quite happy right now, and it seems like you are too. And just one thing, we're talking about the car thing, the fuel. I was actually reminded. I'm currently in Norway right now. You might see it from out my window here. It's a huge mountain up here. Here in Norway, Norway is probably the most conservative and traditional country in Western Europe, I will say. Yeah, the UK, Sweden, Germany. Norway is much better than those countries. But there's one thing that they are very, they talk a lot about here in Norway, and that's being environmentally friendly all the time. Tesla is a huge thing here in Norway. There's so many Teslas all over the place. And if I'm not mistaken, I actually introduced a law where they're supposed to completely get rid of all petrol cars by 2050, I think. So no petrol cars at all. Only electric cars, which is kind of stupid considering Norway is sitting on loads of oil. It's kind of a stupid policy.
Right. Well, I think it takes the money out of Norwegian car producers. Do you have any major Norwegian car producers at this point?
Zero.
Zero.
Zero car producers.
Right. So this is a kind of economic warfare on the Norwegian people. It puts money into the pockets of Tesla. It puts, I don't know where they're producing their cars from, maybe Mexico or something like this. It puts a lot of money into the pockets of Silicon Valley and doesn't create any jobs for Norwegians. So it's a draconian measure that the Norwegian government is taking. And Obama obviously wanted to go that direction too. So.
Yeah, no, that's very good that America's going the other way then. And by the way, I just want to read a super chat here from Shadows and Dust. Thank you very much. It says, welfare, immigration, borders, enforcement of current law. That's the ticket. Thanks for the update, gentlemen, he says. Thank you so much. And yeah, no, I agree. It's you have to control the immigration, you have to control the borders. Otherwise, you won't be able to have welfare at all. I mean, if you want to have welfare, I'm not a huge fan of welfare, but if you want to have welfare, you definitely have to control the borders. Otherwise, it's not going to work. I mean, Norway and Sweden, welfare is not going to go away here. I mean, welfare is such ingrained in people here that it is going to be here to stay, I think. But then at the same time, if they bring in loads of migrants who are not working as much, it won't work out for the economy very well. And that's what we're seeing in Sweden. And that's actually what Norway is seeing as well. And they're actually trying to deal with it by reducing migration. I attended a meeting with the Norwegian Justice Minister, Sylvi Listhaug, former Justice Minister. She was actually ousted from her job recently because something she wrote on Facebook. It was they had a vote in Norwegian Parliament about whether returning ISIS terrorists should have their citizenship removed, and the Socialist Party, Labour Party in Norway, they managed to get a majority to oppose that. So they said no. The current government is quite weak, so there was one party that actually sided with the opposition, and then they were opposed to it. But the government, they wanted to remove citizenship for terrorists, but it didn't go through. So then this Norwegian Justice Minister, Sylvi Listhaug, she's a really nice, really good conservative, traditional lady. One of the best politicians in Norway, in my opinion. She has made sure to reduce migration down to the lowest level since 1995. But yeah, she wrote on Facebook to the Socialist Party that you guys are supporting terrorists because they had voted to not remove citizenship, which, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that at all, but that caused a huge media storm. And there's one communist in the Norwegian parliament. The Communist Party has one guy in the parliament, and he started a mistrust thing against her. And he managed to get all of the other parties to join up on that and to basically kick her from her position because of mistrust. So she's not a justice minister anymore because of that Facebook post, because of the one communist in parliament bringing on the whole thing. So she's now not the justice minister. She was in control of migration and so on, and she is against mass migration. She has brought it down to the lowest levels since 1995, only 1,000 migrants in per year. She's against mass migration. She's very conservative, very good lady, but they managed to bring her down. Absolutely insane how one communist managed to bring her down like that.
Right. Well, yeah, communism is this great wrecking force, and it really sort of reduces the value of human life. And so communists can be quite dangerous, as they really have nothing to lose because they're sort of living for a dystopian nightmare world. So everything that's a gain to them is a loss to everyone else. Now, who did they replace her with? Did they put someone that was more pro-migration in there?
I haven't seen yet. I would. She was from the Populist Party, which is actually the third biggest party in Norway that are in government. So I'm going to assume that another person from this Populist Party is going to take her position. That's what I'm going to assume. I haven't seen anything more about that since, but I know she has gotten a new job now. She's on the committee for or the panel for what's it called, health and basically for health and hospitals and so on, elderly care. She's on the committee for that now instead of migration. But yeah, this Populist Party, by the way, I don't know if you know much about Norwegian politics, but they are the Populist Party, like the AFD or the Swedish Democrats or Geert Wilders, kind of that kind of party. And they're actually the third biggest party, and they're actually in government in Norway right now in coalition with the Conservatives. So yeah, it's not as bad as other countries, to say it that way.
Well, yeah, no kidding. Well, no, I mean, securing your borders is everything. It's whether the life of a nation continues to exist or whether it peters out. I mean, America is becoming Mexico, quite frankly, in some places. And this is being celebrated openly by a lot of these Democrat politicians like Nancy Pelosi, she was saying, I believe that her grandson he regretted his white skin. He wanted to be a brown skinned person. And there's this kind of white guilt that's really infected us here in the United States. And I think that's what allows a lot of this migration to persist unabated. But that is starting to come to an end. We're starting to see little things here and there, like some African country. It starts with an S, but I can't remember which one. I think it's Sudan. They had their visa status revoked, so they have to get out of the country. Like all these people that were here for war reasons, they now have to leave the country. And there's little things here and there that the State Department is doing to tighten things up. And of course, Jeff Sessions, I believe over the weekend with the Department of Justice, put out a memo or something like this to set a quota for federal judges that they have to meet. They have to expel a certain amount of illegals from the country as part of their duties as federal judges. This is a huge development. So we're really on a roll here in the United States. It's really good to hear that in Norway there's a fair bit of awareness of what maintains the Norwegian nation and what keeps the nation going. So.
Oh yeah, Norway's. I can definitely say I've seen some examples of the patriotism here in Norway. I mean, it was actually now on the 1st of April. All of the Norwegian. I live in a small village here, and on the 1st of April, all of the houses that have a flagpole, and that's quite a lot of them. Everyone, all of a sudden, all the Norwegian flags just went straight up. So I was driving around and like, hey, what's this? It's like Norwegian flags literally everywhere. People are just flying them in their gardens, in their homes, in their yards, in the farms. And it's like I drove through a small village of like five different farms kind of in that village, and 4 out of 5 had a Norwegian flag on a flagpole. And I'm like, yeah, this is kind of nice. I haven't seen this anywhere in Sweden before. Like if you're driving to Sweden, you don't see that many Swedish flags around. But literally I drove through like literally Norwegian flags everywhere. And that kind of shows the patriotism. There's a lot more patriotism in Norway. And, I see people out with I don't know the English word for it, but it's like, the hats you wear when it's cold outside. What's it called in English? Do you know it?
Like a stocking cap?
No, it's like the one that Tim Pool always wears.
Oh yeah, that's a stocking cap. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but it's like the kind of like hat where you have in winter when it's cold. Yeah, I don't know the English word, but yeah, they walk around with these, and they actually have Norwegian flags on them. They're like so patriotic. It's much better than Sweden, that's for sure. And yeah, it's really nice to see. I guess it's maybe like that in America. I haven't been in America in a long time, but I've seen many people seem to be flying the American flags a lot. Is that true?
Well, particularly in the interior of the country, patriotism is still pretty alive and well. But on the coasts, these have been sort of port places, and then also somewhere like New Mexico or southern Texas, where it's just Mexicans pouring in. You're losing the national sort of spirit, you're losing the patriotism, you're seeing Mexican flags at times, in a lot of these farming communities also where it's just mostly Mexicans. I mean, I was in Oregon a decade ago. I'm from the state of Oregon, and I was in a farming town. It was there was the county fair, and 90% of the people that were there were Mexicans. And I actually saw a few Mexican flags and stuff. This was on the 4th of July. So we are, in some places, we're almost like balkanizing socially. But I do think what you're saying here really underscores the emphasis we have to have on our national symbols. Wherever we are as nationalists or as just philosophers that don't want to see the world descend into chaos. I mean, you can see the flag behind me. We have to sort of take these symbols back and take them away from the global elite who want to erase them, and we have to bring them to prominence, because that brings to mind the values in the formation of our countries. So that was something that Mike Cernovich really emphasized in the run-up to the Trump election. I think he was totally right. You got to fly your flag, and you got to show that you are of whatever nationality, and that you define, and you're, as a good steward of ideas and you could say democracy or something like this. You are a good steward of what is right, and you are aligned with these symbols. I think that really sends a message to all the right people.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think it's also an important point to point out. I've been seeing some of these nationalists around, especially in the US. They've been using all these kinds of stupid, stupid symbols. I mean, why? Just use. I mean, if you are a nationalist, you're supposed to use your national flag, not any other kind of stupid symbol. That's just pointless. You know, I was actually in Norway. When the Nazis occupied Norway, they actually forbade the Norwegians to fly the Norwegian flag and to sing the Norwegian anthem. And if they did so, they could actually be arrested and sent to prison. And so whenever you mention, the Norwegians, they're very patriotic. They kind of still today they kind of hate German people because they felt like, yeah, they infringed on their nationality, on their nation, and occupied them, which I did. So,
right.
and that's why you see so many Norwegians now flying Norwegian flag and so on. You would not see many Norwegians going around flying some kind of Nazi flag or anything like that. They would probably be lynched.
Right. Well, and everyone sort of knows that America, everyone has a sense that America was a powerhouse and that America was the freest land in the world. And that's what the American flag really represents. So when you get one of these sidelines, sort of like you got the 13 stripes, but then you've got a rodent wheel in the center or something like this, some sort of Norse wheel in the center, whatever it is that you're doing, or you've got the fasces, the bundles of sticks, and whatever it is you're trying to do. People don't know. Just people don't know, and it's like you're trying to wear a dead Kennedy's jacket or something like this and go to a family event. Nobody's going to know what you're on about. You're just going to look strange. Whereas if you really show the meat and potatoes of what your country is about and you represent it well, then I think you can be a good proselytizer and you can bring a lot more people to the cause, which right now is populism, is economic nationalism, and is closed borders.
Speaking of the fascists, by the way, do you know the Norwegian police, their shoulder pads, they actually have a fascist on their shoulder pad, Norwegian police. Actually walking around it like the fascist symbol. I'm not kidding you.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, and the founders knew this symbology. I mean, they very explicitly knew what they were doing when they included some of these fascist symbols. And so, it's not to say that we want to advocate for fascism or something like this, but we don't want to say that our founding fathers were radical individualists. I think they understood that by standing together, that's really the basic emphasis of that symbol, is that by standing together, it's much harder to break you. So to have some sort of collective identity serves the nation state, and that's where we're at right now. It's either that or globalism, and it's a dogfight to the death. And so obviously we have to choose nationalism.
No, it's increasingly becoming clear that it's nationalism versus globalism more than left versus right. And I want to go through just a couple of more super chats here, if that's okay with you as well. I have a couple of questions here. First guy here, Pinochet, says Syrian soldiers are leading the caravan. Speaking of the Mexican caravan, yeah, I don't know, maybe. Thank you so much for super chat, man. And Shadows and Dusts, right? I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of the largest home builders in my state. Miranda Homes, they hire many illegals, yet they never get in trouble. Big fan of Peter and Steven. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't know. Do you know anything about? Have you heard anything about that, Steven?
I haven't, but you see it. I mean, you go to Home Depot or you go to Lowe's, particularly Home Depot. For some reason, you'll see. I mean, these are big box stores, and they're for home building. For those of you who aren't in the U.S., and you can go buy sinks and countertops and rocks and whatever it is that you need to put into your home project. And you look at the end of the parking lot, and there's 30 Mexican guys. Usually they're Mexican, sometimes they're Central Americans. I don't want to generalize too much, but they're all from south of the border, and they're all standing, they're all milling about. Steven Crowder famously did a video where he went and he trolled these people, and he got them in his truck, and then he threatened them with immigration enforcement. And so, yeah, this is a thing. Home builders, like I've pointed out several times in some of my streams, that building standards are really, they're not up to what's actually on the books. It's really up to the builders. It's the people themselves. It's their IQ. It's their ability to put together a house. And you're starting to see this strange sort of architecture in the United States that really is lower workmanship than classical American workmanship, but it's an attempt to meet certain standards. And so home inspectors all the time now are just finding problems with houses that they didn't find in previous decades. And this puts a strain on the economy, because there's a, you know, it's like the broken window fallacy. People are now chasing around broken windows, broken sewer lines and stuff like this. So a lot of these builders hire illegals who just don't have the IQ, who just don't have the skill to put together the houses that used to, you know, house Americans. Now we're housing the third world, and the housing is starting to look like it.
It's actually, I know it's actually similar in the UK. They have in London, they have people from Poland, and actually it's actually Eastern European countries, so Romania, especially, and Poland, and they actually come there and they stand there in groups, and you have builders that come and just hire them, pick them up, and pay them, you know, without any taxes or anything, and yeah, I don't know. Sometimes the build quality is a bit, bit so.
Right.
But that's actually something that's quite popular in the UK. You know, people from Poland coming, in Romania, just living on the sheep in the UK and then earning loads of money, which is a lot for them back in Poland, because it's really cheap to live in Poland, and then send the money back home to Poland. And it's not to say anything bad about Polish people. You know, Polish people are quite good, quite nice and good people, but still, it's bad for the English people. You know, just having them coming in, taking jobs like that.
Right. Yeah, it's a basic brain drain. So.
Yeah, no, and also the super chat here, by the way, from C. Baker. He says, illegal immigration is a huge detriment to the USA. Enough is enough. Open borders are a detriment to our working class. California is looking more and more like a third world country in some areas. Thank you so much for super chat there. And yeah, I've seen something about the California looking quite a bit like shitholes. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it's quite true. There are tent cities now, where formerly, I think, people that were in the middle class now have to live in tents. And then you go on the public transit, you go by places like Oakland, and they just look like shanty towns. And so you have this expensive railway system, and then you're just sort of passing through shanty towns where minorities and illegals have to sort of duke it out to maintain some semblance of living standard. It's just not working. It's a total failure.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing in many places in Europe, and you know, in Paris, some places. I need to go there and do some video. And you have in Sweden, you have certain places, ghettos. I mean, it's just and in London, it's actually, I actually saw some interesting statistic from Sweden. I know we're getting off topic from America here, but there was actually a study done in Sweden. It showed that when a certain area gets more than 5% migrants living in the area, the white people start moving out. The Swedish people, they start leaving if it's more than 5% migrants in a certain area. That's quite an interesting. I think that's what they call white flight in America. It seems to be happening all across the world where mass migration is happening.
Yeah, and white people have to decide: are we going to become a diaspora, or are we going to keep our nations? Are we going to keep the cities? And you know, what are we going to do here? And so we're at a tipping point. It's going to go one way or the other. And I have a lot of hope and optimism for the United States. I like what I'm seeing from Canada. Funnily enough, I wish Jordan Peterson would run for prime minister. He said, I'd run, but I wouldn't know what I was doing, so I shouldn't run. It's like, you're better than Trudeau. Just run, Jordan Peterson. You know, we don't need perfection. So no, I have some hope for Canada as well.
It would be perfect if Jordan Peterson became prime minister of Canada. That'd be so good. I mean, imagine all the red pills that will be coming out.
Right. Well, and I don't think there's ever been a psychologist that became the leader of a country. So it would be a really interesting sort of social experiment anyhow.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good more and more in some European countries now. You know, we're getting more and more populists gaining power. So it seems like more and more people are waking up. So that's definitely a good thing. You know, in Italy we have the anti-EU parties that have been gaining. The populist party Lega got a lot of. I think it was the third biggest party in Italy election, and we had the Swedish election upcoming now in September. And my gut feeling is that I definitely think the Swedish Democrats are either going to come first or second. It's I can feel it happening. I'm going to be doing a all-night live stream on the election night, so that's going to be fun. So that's in September.
That's great.
But I can definitely see more and more Swedish people waking up. But it's a bit worrying though, because Sweden has actually set up an entire new government or institution to monitor for fake news and work with the mainstream media to stop fake news. And they even have special access to Facebook, so they can delete troll accounts from Facebook quickly. It's kind of feeling like censorship to me.
Unbelievable. I think there was a South Park, like a whole story arc in South Park, where one of these Scandinavian countries had an institution like this. So it's life imitating art now.
Yeah, no, it was. I think it was the South Park that had this Danish troll factory or something.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, what's happening in the UK, I mean, I'm sure you've talked about it on your channel, and I certainly have, with the crackdown on free speech. I mean, Lauren Southern can't even go into the country. She's banned for life. Unbelievable.
And I had to leave the UK a couple of months ago. I've told you about this more in private, but now you know why I did what I had to do back then. I remember I told you. And I know the people watching won't know what this is about, but yeah, it's. I had to leave the UK. I had there was 6 police events that came and stormed my house while I was in Norway. So I decided, yeah, I think I'm going to stay in Norway. I'm not going to go back to the UK. I probably. I mean, if I went to the UK, I would either be banned or probably more likely they'd probably arrest me for some kind of hate crime. Because that kind of hate crime thing in the UK is getting to ridiculous levels at the moment. It's really, you've probably seen some of the things. The British police actually tweeted earlier today on Twitter. They put out a picture of weapons confiscated in a raid or something they found in the park. And what did they find? It was what's it called in English? You know, the kind of things like a fork thing that you like shuffle hay with. You know. Not a spade, right. But it's like a fork. It's like a big fork, you know, that you shuffle hay with. What's it called in English?
A pitchfork.
Pitchfork. Oh, that's one. Yeah, they found a pitchfork and lay out a picture on Twitter boasting weapons confiscated today. A pitchfork. Like,
that's unbelievable. What? I think they confiscate butter knives and screwdrivers and
Like imagine if they come into my like imagine if I had been there. And they had come into my house and I'd seen I have a screwdriver and a hammer in my house. They'd say, yeah, we're going to arrest you for weapons here. We're going to arrest you for terrorism or something. You have a hammer. That's terrorism. Like you can like literally see it happening.
And if they just went to the mosques, you know, if they had the guts to go into the mosques, I think they would find all sorts of things hidden away, all sorts of grenades and guns and stuff. But it's starting to be very, let's say, very Sharia compliant, particularly in London. And I mean, my hat's off to Brittany Pettibone and Lauren Southern and these sorts of people for going into some of the heaviest Muslim areas and trying to spread some awareness about how Islamicized the UK is becoming. So there is that. You know, it's silly. I mean, we see the cops dressing like furries and letting African people rub up against them and stuff. But then it also has this ominous component where it's not just falling apart like some postmodern sort of thing. Like you see a little bit more in Canada. It's becoming Islamicized, which means there will be teeth to some of the judicial decisions in the UK to come, and there will be Islamic teeth, and that will really hurt some of the longtime English people.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worrying to see what's happening in the UK, and I want to just go through just a couple of more quick super chats here. Swede Speak says, "Hello, Trump is good," and he also writes, Sweden is going down the drain. Canada seems to be following. Norway too. Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. Thank you so much for the super chat. By the way, as Swede Speaks, he's got his own YouTube channel as well. If you want to check him out, he talks about Sweden stuff as well. And we also have, let me see, the super chat disappeared. It was there somewhere. Yes, Horace's Horse says, grooming gangs in US too, and Muslims get $5,000 $5,000, I guess, a month welfare per head of house. African cannibals here too. But it's definitely in Sweden. I know that the migrants get a lot of welfare benefits. They get, I think it's a single mom with 3 kids. They get about $2,500 per month, tax free in welfare benefits, just for existing, basically. So that's really insane. And also Shadows and Dust again. Thank you so much for super chat. It says the red elephants and white elephants do great work covering political meetings. Last night, Huntington Beach held a meeting to fight sanctuary state status, calling it unconstitutional. Yes, that's actually one thing I wanted to. Do you have time? Just a couple of more minutes, Steve?
I have a couple minutes. Yeah.
That was one thing I actually wanted to ask you about. This sanctuary state things happening, because I've seen there's been some talk about Trump or some of these Republicans suing or trying to get rid of the sanctuary states. Do you know anything about this?
Well, I think the Huntington Beach is, I believe the city is going to sue the state of California over these sanctuary city laws. And this is a very, very new development. Huntington Beach is where a lot of whites have fled to. And so I think they have a little bit of a bastion of conservatism there and just some common sense. So they will be suing California, and hopefully that will get the ball rolling, because then California, if they're successful in their suit, California has to drastically change how they do sanctuary city stuff. And that allows Jeff Sessions to come in and makes his job a lot easier. So it's kind of from within the inside out rather than the outside in, which is tougher for the federal judicial machine to work. So hopefully people in these little areas that are holdouts, redoubts for white people and just conservatives can turn back the tide of some of the tyranny of the states. Funnily enough, our republic formed to be against the tyranny of the federal government, but almost it's like a tyranny of the states right now. So I think it's something good that the person brought up. It's something to look forward to anyhow.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's important to get rid of all the illegal migrants that are not supposed to be there. That's only going to be more votes for Democrats and illegal votes as well, And they're actually doing this in Sweden. I'll just bring up this last point before we finish. In Sweden, for the upcoming election, they are introducing a democracy bus. It's a bus with democracy guides on board. And they are driving into these problem areas and these no-go zones with these democracy buses to pick people up and drive them to the voting booth with the democracy guides on board, telling them how this whole democracy process works. I'm pretty sure that it's definitely not going to be any kind of cheating here or anything like that. They're not going to tell them who to vote for or anything like that. They're not just going to come in and pick up all the migrants and tell them to vote for the left-wing parties. That's definitely not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, well, it all boils down to the power of the vote, and we have to win through political means. And if that fails, then we'll have a different kind of discussion in the future. But let's hope that it doesn't get to that.
Yeah, it definitely looks to be going the right way. People are waking up more and more, and I'm a believer in democracy. So let's hope it should definitely work out fine.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, excellent. I think we'll wrap this up here. We've been going for 45. I know we need to go, so I think I'm going to wrap this up here, and I want to thank everyone in the live chat for all the good questions and everyone for joining in. And I want to thank Steve Fransen for joining in as well. Is there anything you want to finish on where people can find you? Or
Sure, yeah, you can find me at twitter.com/Steve Fransen. I recently had a 98,000 retweet tweet. I think 13 or 14 million people saw it. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump saw it. really blew up my Twitter. I'm really happy to have hit a home run, and you can look forward to more good content from me.
Excellent. No, I'll leave a link to your Twitter in the description so people can find you. And 98,000 retweets, that's huge. The most I've ever had was 17,000, which is big in itself, but 98, you hit the home run on that one. So excellent work. Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming, and I'll wrap this live stream up here. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you later.
Yeah.